Hello, my name is Sophia and David and Susan mentioned me earlier. I'm 15 years old and I'm originally from Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, but I have been living in Italy for 2 years now due to the full-scale invasion. As you all know, it started on the 24th of February in 2022, and for everybody in Ukraine, it has been a drastic change in their lives. It really divided our reality in two parts, in before the war and after it. And my family was no exception to that. We had to leave Kiev short after the forced conversion started. We were lucky to get on a night train and to go to Lviv. It's a city in the west of Ukraine, which is relatively safe. In comparison to Kiev at that time. Actually, we had to leave because Russian troops were about 12 kilometers away from our house at that time. And when the war started, of course, the education in Ukraine stopped, and uh, it has not been back to normal up to September 2022. And that's when I received a message from a class teacher who was actually trying to teach us some math even in March 2022. Can you imagine that? After like 2 weeks of when the war started, she was actually dedicated to keep the education of the students, but it was definitely not enough. And that's why she suggested that I join these classes. And really, I was at that time quite hesitant to do that because, I was a diligent student, but I only had this community of mine which was really restricted, and I lived in the capital, yes, but quite on the edge of it, really, and I only had my school, and that was really it. And then at some point, my mom said that maybe it would be a good idea. I had already some English knowledge, and I could definitely join them. So yeah, I decided to give it a try, and that's when I first joined David's meeting. And what an experience it was, really. There were more than 300 students. Can you imagine that? And it was a really hard time for everybody, but still they joined. They joined from shelters, they joined from houses with no electricity. There were people joining from occupation, from shelters. I had a friend, he lived in Kherson, in southern Ukraine, and there was no electricity there. It was occupied by Russians, and I remember him telling that he had to actually ride his bike up to a point where he could find electricity. I mean, that was just insane. And there were many people like that, many stories. And that friend actually ended up going out through Crimea and Russia under great danger. But yeah, that's another story. And so I spent more than 5 hours a day with CWW, and it has been really an integral part of my life. And I remember that I often had these meetings in the park near my house in Lviv, and it was so strange, really, at that time. I remember the air raid alerts coming off, and there was, this voice saying that everybody should go to the shelter, but really no one did. It was too much for everybody. No one really cared at that time, and everybody was just walking in the park. And I remember once we were in our apartment, and there was a missile flying just near our house, well, about 5 kilometers away, and there was this terrible sound, and it was the first time I actually heard it, and as I was quite lucky to avoid it by that time. And I remember this huge amount of smoke, of black smoke coming from the other part of the city, and I was really so shocked that this is actually happening in Lviv, which was actually meant to be kind of a safe city, but that's where the missile found some people. So, yeah, CWW was, kind of a bubble to escape to. It was a community of people who actually might understood that there's something else outside this reality. As you know, when there's a war going on, or a coup of any kind, or Taliban, or anything like that in your country, your world is becoming really restricted. You are surrounded by people who are experiencing the same trauma as you are, and they are in exact same horror day by day, and they cannot really provide you with this place where there's nothing like that. People abroad are actually a source of um, hope sometimes, because you see that there is a place in the world where nothing like that is going on. And there are people that are going on trips. There are people who are going to museums. There are people who are studying in schools. It's not like that all over the world. And that means that someday maybe it will be like that in your country as well. And after 9 months of the full-scale invasion, I had to leave Ukraine, and I went to Italy. Actually, it was an extremely a strange story, because we were definitely not sure that my father would be able to cross the border, as men were actually not allowed to go out of the country. And it was a real miracle that he had this opportunity. He found a job in Italy, and he was able to cross the border. And to remember my mom, my grandma, and I with our small dog coming out of Kiev, and we were driving like 12 hours, and then we stopped near the border and went across the Polish border, and it was, so strange. And then we crossed multiple countries, and we ended up in Italy, and it was such a strange feeling. And I remember once realizing that I was just lying in my bed and I was like, oh, actually, we're not in a place where there is actually no danger of war. And it was, such a strange feeling. And it was actually after a few months when we came here. And it was such a strange realization, really. And, Italy has been, my dad likes to call it kind of a shelter of ours. It's really not a place where we wanted to go, just, as people like to go on vacation, for example, but it was definitely forced. And I ended up going to an Italian school, and I was feeling so alone. I could not communicate with anybody. I did not know any Italian. I didn't speak any Italian. And it was just awful, really. I felt like no one understood me, and no one really cared. And even though people actually heard about Ukraine, but they didn't really ask anything. I did not actually speak about it. And I was so frustrated about that. And then that's when CWW came in. That's when it showed once again that there is this community of people who know what they came through. There are people out there who care. And that's the whole point of CWW. It's not only English, it's not only linear algebra, as David used to say, and still says, of course. It's more. It's about hope. It's about community. I tell you, from a student's perspective, it's teachers are the integral part of CWW, and it's all about you, really. And you being retired teachers, and that's something you love. Teaching is your kind of thing. It's something you have a great experience in. You know how to approach students. And, I realized that this kind of experience is definitely not what you faced before, but really, the students that join these classes are so dedicated to actually studying something that you won't believe how easy it is to actually communicate with them. It's something natural. After just a couple lessons, it seems like teachers actually become a family with the students. And I would like to finish my speech with this quote. One Afghan student once said that CWW, among this chaos, among the Taliban regime, actually reminds her that humanity still exists. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Sophia.